Welcome to another edition of the program, The Legislator. The Legislator is a program that will allow you to know more about your legislators, their bills, constituency projects, motions, and some other legislative activities. I am Christy Ewudage, the anchor for today's program, and with me is
Usman Sophia.
Well, we have a special guest that will be doing justice to some of our questions. He is a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He is distinguished Senator Muhammad Adamu Alero. Distinguished, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, before we get started, I shall be giving a short biography of Senator Alero. Senator Adamu Alero is from Kebbi State. He started his education in an Islamic school at a tender age of 4 under a renowned Islamic scholar. In 1965, he was enrolled into Alero Township Primary School. In 1971, he was admitted into a newly established government secondary school, Koko. In 1976, he applied to the School of Basic Studies, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. And from 1977 to 1980, he studied in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences in the Department of Political Science and Administration. After graduation, he went for the National Youth Service Corps from 1980 to 1981 and immediately joined the public service. He joined politics in 1998 after voluntary retirement from public service. From 1999 to 2007, he served as the governor of Kebbi State. He is also a one-time minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Distinguished, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Distinguished, the first thing the Ninth Senate considered upon resumption was the working document, that's a roadmap for the Assembly.
Yes.
For what it is now, are you likely to achieve the roadmap?
Yeah. Luckily, I'm the chairman that designed the roadmap, and that is the agenda for the Ninth Senate. And as far as I'm concerned, we are following that roadmap rigidly. We are not deviating from the roadmap. We already made it clear that we are going to work in harmony with the executive arm of government. And we have shown that immediately the budget was presented to us. We made a solemn promise that we will pass it expeditiously. We did not only pass it expeditiously, we did a thorough job and ensured that the inputs of the legislators made into that budget. And instead of passing the budget in June, we pass it in December so that it can be ready for implementation in January, so that it will end in December 2020. And we have returned the budget cycle from January to December instead of May, June, July, August. So we have succeeded in doing this. Secondly, we have also screened and confirmed virtually all the ministerial nominees sent by the executive within a very short period of time. And not only that, all confirmations of appointments based on the 1999 Constitution that are sent to the Senate, we do confirm them and send them back to the executive. We have decided to work, as I said earlier, in harmony with the executive for the benefit of all Nigerians and for the benefit of our country. And we will continue to do that. There will be no confrontation. There will be no friction between the executive and the legislature. Where we have differences, we will try to resolve those differences amicably without getting them to be known into the public domain. That is one of the resolve we made in the Ninth Senate.
Congratulations, sir, for being part of the success of the January-December budget cycle. Since the first quarter of the year, have you seen any progress that makes it different from the former budget cycle?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of difference. Number one, the capital budget has been released, and also the recurrent budget, the current estimate has been released by the executive. Almost 90 to 95% of that has been released, and the capital, where MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies are required to start procurement process, have also been released from what we had from the Minister of Finance. Even today, we had interaction with both the Minister of Finance and also the Accountant General of the Federation. And they made it very clear to us that they have released up to about 400 billion naira to the ministries, departments, and agencies for the capital budget. And as for the recurrent, they have been up to date. They have been paying salaries and allowances to civil servants without any problem whatsoever. And as you all know, the EPIS is working. So salaries are paid based on the EPIS. No civil servant will receive salary if he is not enrolled on EPIS. And that has tremendously reduced the ghost workers to the barest minimum.
Okay, sir. In Nigeria, there is a gross inadequate housing unit that can accommodate its population. The available houses are mostly occupied by civil servants and the rich. As the chairman of Works and Housing Committee, how would you ensure that an ordinary Nigeria benefits from government housing plan?
Thank you very much for this question. Actually, there is a deficit of housing in the country. It is estimated that based on our population, we have about 15 million houses as deficit that is yet to be met by Nigerians. And the only way we can fill this deficit is to use public-private partnership and also use mortgage financing. It has not been in use in Nigeria for quite a long time. It is only the Federal Mortgage Bank that is currently, financing housing based on mortgage. But we want government to come aggressively and participate in the funding of housing through mortgage. If you do that, it will reduce the deficit, to a significant level. We want houses to be made available and also affordable. A two-bedroom, there is no reason why it should cost more than 2.5 million naira. A one-bedroom, there is no reason why it should not be done at 1.5 million naira. And if you do that, certainly the civil servant will be happy. Yes. Low-income earners will also be happy. A lot of people will be housed if you embark on this. There is one policy that was embarked upon during the presidency of Goodluck Jonathan. It has to do with the mortgage financing. About 500 billion naira was made available, but unfortunately, they couldn't start the implementation of that, program. And we want to see it being reintroduced under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, because we believe that it will assist a lot in meeting the gap in housing sector.
Distinguished, capital projects in the budget is associated with works and housing. Now that the president has set a committee to review the 2020 budget as a result of drop in oil price, do you think your work consistency will be affected?
Well, the reality is that the oil price has come down by more than 30%.
Yes.
And definitely this will affect the budget implementation. It's even good that the government has been proactive. Instead of waiting to see what will happen in the next 2-3 months, it has set up a committee to look into how the budget can be funded. I believe very strongly that the budget will be implemented, not maybe up to 100%, because of the vagaries and uncertainties of the oil market. it has dropped down to about $32 per barrel instead of the 48 or 50 something we put in the budget. It's unfortunate that it has happened, but I believe this may not take a long time. The fall generally is due to the friction between Saudi Arabia and also the National Federation, because they couldn't agree. So Saudi Arabia decided to double its production from 7 million barrels to about 14 million barrels. Equally, Russia decided to triple their own production. That made the price to fall. And of course, there is this issue of coronavirus, which is seriously affecting the industrial sector, particularly industrialized countries like US, China, India, big economies, so to say. There is drop in the demand for oil. And this has to do with the epidemic called coronavirus. We hope that very soon we'll find a solution to this virus so that the world economy will come back to shape. The world economy will continue to flourish and people will continue to be better off.
Like as you rightly said, it will affect works, which means it will affect other sectors.
It will affect Ministry of Works and Housing, certainly. But I believe government will come up with a solution. We don't want to predict what the government will do. Since the committee is in place, we'll wait till the committee comes up. And even at our own side, the legislative side, we are not, sitting down and being looking at the executive. We too have set up our own committee, particularly the committees on appropriation, committee on finance, committee on petroleum upstream and downstream. They are going to meet together with the national planning to come up with ways and means of getting out of this challenge we are in now. That is drop in oil price. They will come up with solutions, and we are going to also engage the executive. Their own committee, our own committee, is going to interact and see how best we can come out of it.
Distinguished, despite the yearly budget plan, a large percentage of roads in Nigeria are bad. Can you tell us how you intend to solve the issue of bad roads and maintenance to a minimal level?
As far as I'm concerned, government is doing its very best to rehabilitate and even expand the existing roads. We have well over 522 roads that are currently under reconstruction or rehabilitation by federal government. And the budgetary provision definitely is not enough. It will take us close to about 15-20 years on these 522 roads. So we need to inject funds so that the rehabilitation will be faster. I'm happy with the initiative that federal government came up with. The NSIA, that is National Sovereign Wealth Investment Authority, is now funding Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, and Kano Road. My committee inspected this road, and work is going on, even though at a very slow speed. We have directed the contractor to mobilize properly and get more gangs to be on that road. We have equally inspected Lagos-Ibadan. We are satisfied with the progress of Lagos-Ibadan road, and we are very optimistic that the rehabilitation and also expansion will be completed within the record time. That road is also being funded by Sovereign Wealth Investment Authority. Equally important is Shagamu-Benin Road, which is being funded also on Sovereign Wealth funds. That one too, work is going on speedily. We have other roads that are also under construction by Sukuk. Sukuk is a bond that is being floated by federal government to fund, roads that are critical to the country. Quite a number of them are under construction. And even this year, another bond will also be raised to continue with the rehabilitation and expansion of the roads network we have. I have not mentioned the second Niger Bridge, which is under construction by Julius Berger. It is also funded through Sovereign Wealth Authority. The roads are not as good as we want them to be, but I wouldn't say they are deplorable. Some of them are motorable, some of them are in bad shape, quite okay, but the best way out is to embark on public-private partnership. Let's use the private sector to construct roads that are viable. But there is no reason why a government should fund a road like Lagos Ibadan. This is a road that over 1.2 million, motorists ply every day. And I believe if it is concession to the private sector will be willing to rehabilitate the road, expand it, and introduce tolling so that they can recover the money they spent. Equally important is the Shagamu-Benin. It's another very important road. The Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano can also be done in the same way. If you do that, whatever money the government has can go and construct roads that are not viable, that link rural areas, that link some state governments, some states that are that they don't have enough, vehicles passing through them. If you take a critical study all over the federation, you will be able to save a lot of money instead of spending 5-10 years to build these roads. Spend only 2 years to build them, and then you move on. I believe this is the best way to go.
Sometimes I wonder and I just think that we could have good roads as it is in developed countries. Well, distinguished, there is a mixed feeling about the loan approved for the presidency, especially coming from the background that the loan is made capital projects, which work is expected to benefit. Are you on track to ensure that those projects that attracts to works are financed?
Yeah. The loan that has recently approved by the National Assembly,
Yes.
part of it is going to be used for the reconstruction of the roads. We are happy that the loan will be used to rehabilitate the roads. We are also happy that part of the loan is going to be used to do the Mambila hydro electricity project, which has been on the drawing board for over 30 years. President Muhammad Buhari has taken the bull by the horn by moving in to start this very important, power project. We believe when completed, it will stabilize the power supply in the country. And not only that, a lot of the money will be used on social investment, particularly in the Northeast, and also funding the vulnerable group in society, the down and out. The social investment program embarked upon by this administration right from 2015 to date has received a lot of commendation from the beneficiaries. People that never see money in their hands are now receiving close to about 30,000 naira per month, some 50,000 naira per month. It has never happened. People that are unemployed, this is what we call social security net. And I commend the government for introducing this policy, and I also commend the government for continuing with it to the extent of borrowing money to service the poor. On the road sector generally,
Yes.
we are happy with the amount that is going to be used to rehabilitate our roads and or to reconstruct them. I believe the money will put our roads in good shape.
Well, distinguished, thank you so very much. Are there any other issues you would love to discuss that will be of benefit to Nigerians?
Of course, the security, which has been in the front burner. I will say that we have never had it so bad.
Yes.
One must admit. But with the measures that it's been taken by the federal government, very soon we'll be out of the wood. the federal government has endorsed the idea of community policing, and most of the governors have equally endorsed and accepted community policing as a way of improving the security of the country. And we pray that very soon implementation of community policing will start. And this has to do with the people. You cannot succeed without getting the cooperation of the people. The people have to take destiny into their own hands. That is to say, the law enforcement agencies are there to assist them, but they need information. They need intelligence gathering, and this can only be done through the community. And if it is done, I believe the security situation will improve a lot, and normalcy will be returned not only to the northeast, northwest, but to all the geopolitical zones in the country. And I pray also that the agenda set by National Assembly, that is securing Nigeria by collaborating with the executive, will also be achieved within the shortest possible time.
Distinguished, thank you for spending your productive time with us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's at this note we want to specially thank you for being part of the program. We do pray you stay with us same time next time. But till then, God bless Nigeria.
Amen.
Goodbye.